Everybody Hates Rand is a Wheel of Time podcast that will contain spoilers for all 14 books. So if you're anti-spoiler, stop this, read all 14 books, and come back. We'll be here, waiting.
Our title is a joke and is meant to be taken as such. Everybody in this context refers to us and our cats. You are free to feel however you want about Rand. He's a fictional character. Please don't DM us.
The world is a mess, Dark One stretching out his hand. The dragon's reborn, the fire's been fanned, but everybody hates Rand. Everybody hates Rand. Everybody hates Rand.
And it's just us complaining about Gawyn.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've got a lot of that to do today.
Well, for sure. Every time he crops up, there's something to be said.
Consider murder.
Yeah.
He's in his dumb bitch Sherlock Holmes era.
CSI Gawyn.
But he's like really bad at it.
CSI : White Tower.
Yeah.
Division.
Whatever.
Yeah, he is really bad at it.
He's
He doesn't find a single clue. They're all found by his buddy Sleet.
This buddy cop duo.
Who I believe we are always like, what's up with Sleet?
What is up with Sleet?
Gawyn is like, what's up with Sleet? And we're like, I don't know. I wish I want to know him carnally, though. I don't know. He's kind of hot.
I mean, Gawyn goes out of his way to tell us that Sleet is weird looking, which is my type in men for sure.
Yeah, men, weird looking.
Weird looking
equals
is
sexy.
Pretty ideal. But Sleet is also competent. Like, he notices really simple things like a door has been forced open because you can see the scratch marks on the wall and floor.
Sexiest attributes: competence, rat face. I don't even know if Sleet has a rat face.
This is Everybody Hates Rand.
Yeah, it's your friendly neighborhood Wheel of Time podcast. I'm Emily Jushaw.
I'm Sally Goodger.
And that's the construction guys.
That's the construction crew that lives across from us and will never leave.
Yeah, we could guess at their names, but there's probably about 90 of them.
Yeah,
so
I could be like, that's John.
I only know so many men's names.
Yeah, could we run through 90 men's names? I don't know.
I wouldn't know. That's not my business.
You're right. Men are not my business.
Yeah,
unfortunately, there's a lot of them to talk about today, starting with...
all of them bad. Starting with Perrin.
Perrin?
Yeah, we get a classic, what will be a classic, in this book, Perrin / Galad chapter. It starts with Perrin and his group encountering a, can't really call it a bubble of evil because it's not like an ongoing thing. It's more of a like ongoing disruption in the pattern where it seems that like a part of the blight has been like transplanted into just the middle of Gyaldin.
Yeah.
So far we haven't had Brandon Sanderson's like horrible commitment to having a bubble of evil every other chapter like he was doing in A Gathering Storm. I far prefer the sort of like structural food's rotting, and we're gonna keep talking about that, and like the weather's weird, and there are like weird things happening that aren't necessarily like someone being bubbled of eviled.
That's an official canonical term now.
But it's like everyone goes into it and they're like, well, this is weird, and Perrin's like, okay, burn it with fire, and everyone's like, yeah, okay, that seems like a reasonable request.
Sure. Sometimes you gotta burn the landscape in order to...
An invasive species, the blight.
Whatever.
We then cut to Perrin in the wolf dream, talking to Hopper, best boy, who's like, yo, come hunt. And Perrin's like, no, I can't be a wolf. And Hopper's like, this again?
Yeah.
Fucking, you are a half wolf. So, like, can you just get it through your head? And Perrin's like, no. I must be a man. And of course, Hopper's like, okay, well, we're just gonna peer pressure you into turning into a wolf. They like go on a little hunt. Perrin transmorgifies into a wolf halfway through.
Animorphs. One might say.
Excuse me. For missing the accepted parlance.
If if anyone is inclined to do EHR fan art as of late, an
Perrin
Animorph-style
into a
cover
wolf.
of Perrin anamorphing into a wolf would be much appreciated.
I find the Animorphs covers so upsetting. So
They're
wildly upsetting.
Really weird and upsetting, but also an iconic piece of literary cover art, much like Daryl K. Sweet.
Perrin turns into a wolf while they're like hunting an elk or some shit. And he's like, this is the fucking best. I love being a wolf whenever I am a wolf because that's how it goes.
Because it sounds fun.
Yeah, it sounds great. Oh, it's a stag. He takes down the stag and then is like about to go in for the kill. And Hopper's like, don't do that. Like, that stag is also in Teleron Riyadh, which sounds like hell for this stag.
I know, rip. You just have dreams where you're getting hunted by a pack of wolves every night or whatever.
Yeah. Or like, I don't know.
Go to therapy, Mr.
Like,
Stag.
Hopper went to Teleron Riyadh as like his afterlife, right? Do other animals do that?
That's a good question.
These are questions we'll never have answers
Are
to.
Ed and Tybalt gonna go to Teleron Riyadh?
They'd probably do pretty well. I bet cats would do really well in Teleron Riyadh because it's so slippery, you know?
Yeah, tricksters.
Yeah, they would just love it. Little trickster realm, but instead it's full of wolves. Anyway, Hopper's like, don't kill it because it'll die in real, you die into a dream, you die in real life. And then is like, Perrin's like, oh, so I don't want this to happen to me. I'm afraid of that. And Perrin's like, you're not afraid. And Perrin's like, fine, I'm worried. And Hopper's like, don't worry then. Have you considered not having anxiety?
Have you considered calming down?
Like, Hopper, I love you, but you sound like my dad.
Yeah, don't worry about that.
Just don't worry about it.
I do also have to say, like, as annoying as it is for all of us to have been dealing with this since book 1, can you imagine what it's like for Hopper as Perrin's wolf
my God,
mentor
yeah.
to just be like, what do you mean we're still on? Am I a man or a wolf?
Every single night, Hopper's like, this again?
I thought we got over this yesterday.
I thought you said you were 40.
You said you were 40. And Perrin's
Hopper's
like,
like,
no.
This must be the most, this is
Hopper
agonizing.
thinks he's in purgatory,
Hopper is
actually.
repeatedly watching season 8 of Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
That's the sort of hell he's in.
Rip. R.I.P. to a real one.
Anyway, Perrin is like, is this how you're gonna teach me, though? Is by running around doing wolf stuff? And Hopper's like, yeah, that's what I'm trying to get you to do the whole time. And Perrin's like, fine, I accept. Even though it feels like he's accepted this, like, 9 other times. Like, I almost want to, like, rip out every Perrin point of view we've had in the last 6 books and just, like, look at them all side by side and be like, it really feels like we're going over the same things over and over again.
Yeah.
So annoying.
And then I will send my manifesto to Tor Publishing.
Yeah.
And be like, who's responsible for this?
And then we get to Galad, who's in his full KKK era.
Dude.
Yeah, it's pretty bad, this one.
Yeah, he has lost all aspect of being a funny, silly character who's just very
you
hot.
sort of lose sympathy after a certain point when he's like, yeah, maybe everyone is evil and we should waylay random travelers on the road to appease my friend Buyer, who does not need to be appeased.
Yeah, who is evil. I wish I could form a critical thought, but the construction is slowly driving me mad.
It is pretty. Yesterday there was some sort of alarm going off, and it went on for like long enough that I was like, is this just gonna be it now?
Yeah, do we just live here?
I was like, so like, is anyone gonna fix it? Because, you know, usually when an alarm goes off, you're like, great, maybe a minute passes. But this was like fully 4.5 minutes. Mm-hmm. Long enough to really think about it, you know?
To really be stuck there.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry for the sidebar. Galahad is riding around on a horse, surveying his camp, talking to his coterie of other terrorists.
Yeah, they don't want him to send out a letter to, he's like, I've got this plan to send out this letter to the remaining Children of the Light who are not currently under my banner. Just, like, telling them what the deal is and being like, come along.
Most of the Children of the Light who are not under his banner are with the Shanshin. So you can see why all of his officers think this is a very bad idea. To be like, hey, Shanshin, here's my deeds.
Here's where I am. Here's my GPS coordinates.
Yeah.
Come find me.
Here's my,
Come join me. Yeah, Galad, not tons of brains.
Yeah, he's like, this is the right thing to do. And finally I'm like, did Elaine have a point?
Yeah, Elaine did have a point when it applies to fucking white supremacy, when it was just Galad being like, maybe it's not right to steal. I was like, sure.
Yeah, it's fine. It's depending on who you steal from, it's not right to steal.
Yeah, maybe this is a whole personality flaw. Anyway, the officers he's talking to are like, we don't like that you're planning on allying with the Tarvalon witches. And Galad's like, the last battle's here, so we really don't have a choice because, like, they are the lesser of these two evils. And then Galad says the bold statement that, like, and maybe we should stop assuming everyone we come across is a dark friend, and because clearly Asunwa and all of the questioners have this issue where you're guilty until proven innocent, and it's impossible to be proven innocent. And we have to, like, talk to monarchs and stuff, and, like, be respectable, and maybe, like, get some land or some shit so we can build up our white supremacy empire. And they're like, that sounds great, except all the monarchs are dark friends. And Galad's like, not my mommy.
Yeah, and then everyone's like, you're right, not your mommy.
You're right, not your mommy. Okay, fine. Everyone else's, though. And Galad's like, yeah, sure. Because I don't know them personally. Which is the same problem, Galad, that the questioners have. Just on different levels. Anyway, and then Byre comes up and is like, I found some dark friends on the road. And Galad's like, why? I just told you to, like, watch for passing soldiers. And Byre's like, he just keeps calling them dark friends. And Gawyn, like, Galad, you could take this moment to be a teaching moment and be like, let's not assume that everyone we meet is dark friends or even really doing anything suspicious. Like, what business is it of ours if people are on the road? But instead, he's like, I have to, I don't know, placate Byre for some reason because he was loyal to me in the past. It's just like, in a way, it's very, telling rhetoric. Like, these are how these movements stay operational, and, like, everyone, even the, like, quote, good guys like Galad, just succumb to peer pressure and prioritize their, like, bonds with their bros, who are way more intense than them, and eventually fall into that trap, too. Like, but that's not really the intention here, is my vibe.
Sure. I mean, I don't think there's, like, a single critical intention behind what the White Cloaks are doing. Maybe, like, a light sprinkling. But it does not read that way, definitely. It just reads like Galad doing more of his, like, it is more correct in this instance to be loyal to Byre. But there's also kind of a larger, to my reading, there was just kind of a larger implication of just, like, despite everything that he's saying, Galad does believe, like, even regardless of Byre, he believes it is correct to question these people on the road because he puts together that they're somehow connected to an army, as if there are not many, many armies doing many, many things.
Yeah.
None of which is Galad's business. But he's like, it's correct for me to understand if this army is working with the light or the dark. And it's like, he really believes that is his business.
Yeah, like, we're operating from a military standpoint in this really weird space where they're in territory. They're in Gialdan, I believe, which is that Alejandro's town?
I think so.
Like, land? She's not Amadisia, because Amadisia was like, White Cloak
town.
Place.
Do you want me to Google it?
No, I think I'm good. So we're in Alejandro's, like, territory, not the White Cloaks' territory. I'm just, like, repeatedly confused by how the White Cloaks have any authority in any of these places.
Yeah. They don't, and they don't care about that.
Yeah, but, like, we never see any monarch of any sort. Like, Galad references here that, like, we need to gain monarchs' respect because, like, whenever I saw Morgoth, she was just exasperated by the White Cloaks. And I'm like, yeah, because they're exercising extrajudicial authority over citizens of a country that doesn't belong to them.
Yeah.
Like, they're just a police force that doesn't belong to anyone.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, how is that not a major legal problem?
It should be. You're right.
Like, they shouldn't just be able to, like, travel from point A to point B and exercise authority just because, I don't know, they have a bunch of guys, but that's the way that the book treats it. And we're not given a lot of, like, background for why that would possibly be.
Yeah, it's not. It'd be one thing if, like, it was, like, the American police force where every, congressman was, like, just absolutely mad horny for the American police force. and they were all just like really in support of the White Cloaks mission and were just letting them move in whatever way they wanted. That is antithetical to everything that we have been presented with. So it's like, why
every monarch we've encountered, when they've said anything about the White Cloaks, has been like, fuck the White Cloaks.
Yeah, fuck the White Cloaks. So it's like, why are you not using your considerable power and resource to stop them?
Yeah, like, I know that there's a certain amount of, on this continent, like, unoccupied land where there is no authority, so it would be one thing if the White Cloaks were, like, specifically operating in those areas, north of Tarvalon, but south of the borderlands where a lot of that is going on, but they are very specifically in other countries.
Yeah, we've
encountered
everywhere.
them in Andor, in Eridoman, roundabouts here in Altara and Amadisia and Gialdan, and it's just like, where does it come from? And I know where it comes from the guys, like, it's just unmitigated gall, that's fine, but, like, Robert Jordan, where does it come from?
Yeah, and, like, where, like, the White Cloaks really do not face any consequences, so we come up with the same problem we come up with the Shanshin, where it feels like the narrative is upholding what they are doing as somehow more correct.
Yeah, the narrative's just like, yeah, sure, this is fine.
Yeah, where it's like, it's not.
And it's important to, like, integrate them into the last battle. Like, this effort of getting the White Cloaks into the last battle alongside the Shanshin is what we're talking about when we talk about, like, narrative justification.
Yeah.
Because this is a series about good versus evil very specifically. So when you're like, here are the people who are on the side, who have to be on the side of the good, or good will fail. Like, that's a statement that you're making from a narrative standpoint.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whether Robert Jordan and Brandon Sanderson specifically are like, yeah, the White Cloaks are good people, or the Shanshin are good people. They've structured a narrative in which good cannot conquer evil unless enslavers and the KKK are backing it up with their military numbers.
Yeah.
Hammer, hammer, hammer.
Yeah, these guys agree with us. My besties
That's
across the
applause.
street. Yeah.
So anyway, Galad, you're not doing well.
You're the worst.
Anyway, Galad comes to interview. Quote, interview. I'm already slipping into there.
Yeah, and to
Parlance.
interrogate. Yeah.
He goes to interrogate them. Who should it be but Basil Gill and his whole people. And it's just like a caravan of camp followers with a bunch of, like, supplies that the army needs, but, like, didn't need immediately outside of Malden, so Perrin sent them away. And Galad's like, this is very suspicious because they're not merchants or they'd have, like, shit to sell. This is, like, camp stuff. And then Basil Gill is like, yeah, we're selling camp stuff.
To armies, which is like, that's a good, if you're operating in this world, that's a good business model.
And Galad's like, I can just tell you're lying because I'm a lie detector. And also, why don't you sell us food then? And Basil Gill's like, food's pretty fucking scarce. We need our food. And they're like, well, let's just separate all of you and interview you separately and see if you come up with the same story. Of course they don't, and we learn the truth. Because, like, why would, Bornhald comes up to Galad and is like, apparently they're reporting to a guy named Perrin Goldeneyes. And Galad's like, who? Bornhald's like, he killed my daddy. And you know all about avenging parents, don't you?
Yeah, and Galad's like, you're right, I do.
Right, so
it's time to put him on trial.
I have to be loyal to you the way I'm loyal to Bayer for some reason, so let's go fucking murder this guy. Ridiculous. Speaking of ridiculous, Gawyn, CSI
Tarvalon. Gawyn would be a cop. Would be a bumbling cop who cannot solve any of the serial killers that were happening in the 1980s.
Yeah, Gawyn. Zodiac would be about Gawyn.
Yeah, it'd just be about this absolute dipshit of a cop who was like, what do you mean you saw the serial killer at the bus station or whatever? What?
I don't believe you. You're black or a woman. Or both. You don't know anything.
You're not a credible witness.
You're not a credible witness. You wouldn't have been able to serve on a jury in 1895.
That's Gawyn. That's what he talks like, and he's got a really gnarly 1980s mustache.
Yeah. So he's like, here I am with my bro TP Sleet. We're going to this room where someone was murdered. apparently there have been a string of murders in the White Tower, and the popular story is that the Black Asha are just teleporting in, murdering people, and then leaving again, which honestly, that would be way more competent than anything the Black Asha has ever done in the past.
Yeah,
so
you'd think the Aes Sedai would be like...
obviously, it can't be them.
That doesn't seem right.
Galad's like, that doesn't seem right, because for a lot of reasons that we don't need to go into here. But he comes to investigate the room. He has, like, some beef with Captain Twinkify Chubane. What's his name?
Charles.
No, that's Gawyn.
That's Charles Gawyn. What is his name? Captain Chubane. Jamar.
Jamar.
Which I feel like I've never heard in my entire life. Jamar Chubane.
Okay.
High Captain of the Guards in Valon.
Jim? His name's Jim?
Yeah, Jim Chubane.
Jimmy.
Jim Chubane and Charles Gawyn. They're also on the police force.
Okay, Jimmy and Charles.
They're detectives.
Pretty big cop names. Anyway, Jimmy and Gawyn have beef because Jimmy feels like Gawyn might be angling for his job. And Gawyn hasn't realized this despite what seems like weeks of them roughing up against each other. But finally Gawyn, like, dedicates more than a millisecond of thought to it and is like, oh, maybe he thinks that I'm going to take his job because I'm better than him. And I'm like, I'll kill you myself.
Yeah, and Gawyn is really such a brat about it. He's like, why would I want to be the High Captain of the Guards in Valon when I could have been the first sword prince specialist boy of Andor?
He's such a condescending dick
like,
about it.
But I sacrificed all of that for Egg, so, like, why would I want this?
Love.
And Chubane is like, I'll kill you.
He's like, it wasn't easy to give up Andor and the younglings for Egg, but she still won't bond me. And I'm like, she has no obligation to bond you, you stupid idiot.
She's under no contract, you fucking incel.
Yeah, for the love of God. Anyway, they investigate. Sleet's like, clearly the door was forced, and it's weird that these murderers are using knives. And everyone's like, yeah, that is weird. Gawyn goes and makes nice with Chubane by being like, yeah, I want to be Egg's warder, not the captain of the guard. And Chubane's like, oh, okay, you're fine then. Even though if I were him, I'd be like, oh no, that's not why I don't like you.
I know, you're a
bitch.
Prick. Yeah.
It's your personality.
It's not because you're a nerd or whatever they say in the social network. It's because of your bad personality.
Gawyn then goes to talk to Egg. Sylviana makes him wait. Egg comes out and Gawyn corners her and is like, there's another murder. She's like, yeah, what about it? He's like, do you have to be the Amerlin every time we talk? And she's like, well, since you seemingly cannot interact with me, my Amerlin persona, in public in any reasonable way, then yeah, I sort of have to train you into doing it. And he just keeps being like, yeah, of course I accept you, and not showing any evidence of that. He's like, none of the women have warders who have been murdered. Egg's like, yeah, I already knew that. He's like, well, it made me think about how all Aes Sedai should have warders. And she's like, you can't force people to bond warders. And he's like, well, it's selfish not to, because we need to resources, military, junk, stuff like that. She's like, fine, that's actually a good idea. I'll bring it up. He's like, it's clearly not the Black Aja doing this. She eventually is like, yeah, we're pretty sure that it's Masana because we know she's in the White Tower and we're trying to, like, set up a confrontation with her, which is why I would like you to please stop guarding my rooms at night. And I'm like, A, when does Gawyn sleep?
Yeah.
B, that's a reasonable request. Like, fine, Gawyn. He's like, you can't use yourself as bait, that's stupid. And she's like, I don't require your approval.
Yeah.
We also, the readers, may or may not remember that it's not Masana doing the murders, it's the Shanshin assassins who were sent in with their special knives and costumes and whatnot. So, we know that Gawyn, looking into this in a way that Edwin clearly is not, is going to turn out in Gawyn's favor somehow. So that's just annoying.
Yeah.
Anyway, Gawyn's like, fine, I trust you. And Egg's like, okay, prove it. And Gawyn turns around and leaves. There's a lot in this little snippet about Gawyn just being like, control your temper. Don't don't yell at Egg. Don't hit Egg. Like, it's like he really is like a cop who reaches to turn off his body cam every time he gets in an argument with a woman. Like,
yeah.
Gawyn.
He's behaving so badly.
And then with the next segment we get is Egg being like, God, I'm so horny for him. I can't give in to him. And it's like, girl, this series was written by men.
Yeah, for, like, anybody to have encountered
this number of red flags.
Yeah, this number of red flags, and just, like, the way he explicitly treats you after you've been asked to be treated differently. Like, there is almost no woman I know who would be like, I will continue to pursue this relationship.
Yeah, like, women end up in abusive
Yes.
relationships. Smart women do, but, like, there are lots and lots of factors that are not being accounted for in this particular thing.
Yeah.
Often women don't have support networks. Edwin has a very...
incredibly strong support network, all of whom hate Gawyn.
Yeah, everyone's like, he's a scrub, and she's just like, but I like him. She doesn't have much of a history of him being nice to her, like a couple weeks of makeout sessions.
Sure.
As opposed to all of this extremely incriminating stuff.
Sure, and you're absolutely right, and I do not mean to victim blame in any way, shape, or form. Like, women end up in abusive relationships all the time. Just from where I'm standing, it doesn't seem like they are in a relationship currently. It is just him pursuing her in many different avenues of which she is not comfortable. And of course, it's also not Egg's fault that he continues to pursue her despite her being like, don't do these things. What is ridiculous is that Egg seems to be responding to these affections in this way. It does not feel realistic.
Yeah, it's just incel fantasy. Again,
Yeah.
if you try hard enough, if you do whatever you want despite her, whatever she says, if you, quote, read between the lines, unquote, then eventually this woman will sleep with you.
Yeah.
That ain't how it works.
It's just like such an insensitive nerfing of Egg's character.
Yeah.
For her to be like, I can't have Gawyn guard my door at night because what if I give in and invite him into my room? And it's like, okay, what if you do that? Also, why would you? You hate him.
Yeah.
Despite everything you're telling yourself and the readers, we all know you find him annoying.
She's like, I love his passion.
You mean his tomfoolery, his buffoonery, his clownery?
I love his passion for being a dipshit.
Yeah, his passion for slapstick comedy. Like,
What a joke.
I don't understand what you're talking about.
Speaking of incels, we then get Grendel, who's like called to a meeting with Moradin where she tries to weasel out of getting Arengar fucking murdered.
Yeah, it's kind of iconic, actually.
Yeah, she's like, it was all part of the plan. And Moradin's like, fine. I can't
Whatever.
dispute this.
I don't. That
I
doesn't
didn't
sound
like-
right, but I don't know enough about the situation
Arengar.
to dispute it.
And I hated Arengar, so
Yeah, Moradin's like ultimately not that big of a loss, but you are in trouble.
yeah, stay away from Rand. And Grendel's like, that's fine. I wanted to focus on Perrin anyway, because he's obviously important. And Moradin's like, okay, whatever. I don't give a shit. Here, I'll give you some stuff to do. He shows her a room full of fucking magic items. And she's like, can I just have... And he's like, no. Slaps her wrist. No, these are all for me for some reason.
These are all my magic weapon item stuff.
We will not be seeing these used. So this is literally just a dragon horde.
Dumb. Moradin, you suck.
No, he's just not very good.
He's not a very good bad guy. Surprise.
Yeah, he's just really incompetent.
Not in any iteration of his life has he been a bit good bad guy.
He's like, here though, have this. And it's called a dream spike. And we don't know what it is yet, but there are some implications in this chapter, and we will find out soon enough that it's like a thing that you plant in the world of dreams that then prevents traveling.
Oh.
Which is, a very niche thing.
Yes,
Very
like, Perrin
specifically
can't run
tailored
away.
to Perrin won't be able to travel when all of his problems are centered on traveling. And also, it's something that can only be solved in the world of dreams. And wouldn't you know it, Perrin's a world of dreams guy.
Oh, so like he can't travel in the real world if this is planted in his dreams? Not just he can't travel in Teleron Riyadh?
No, he can. He can't travel in the, like, Nield and Grady won't be able to open gateways.
Like magical travel, like he could travel on foot?
Yeah.
It's not like an invisible wall.
It looks like an invisible wall in Teleron Riyadh, but I think you can, like, walk through it. You just it's like you plant it and then there's like, we'll get into it when it happens, but it's like there's a big dome of area that you can't. That's traveling.
Is an incredibly niche weapon,
isn't it?
That is so unbelievably specific, especially as we get into the conversation in the next chapter. This is silly.
Isn't it so funny?
What on
I
earth?
get such a kick out of it.
What on earth are you doing, Brandon?
Just like tailoring a very specific. I mean, if Robert Jordan hasn't bothered to create too many magical items, and he's basically been like, yeah, they're a terangrial, which do whatever I need them to, then sure, I guess. Like, what application would this possibly have? Anyway,
just to be like, haha.
No more traveling.
I guess in warfare, if you like can find the
good.
enemy general in the world of dreams.
I guess it would actually be pretty strategically sound just to be like, we're not allowing traveling like within this city, you know, so that bad guys can't pop into the White Tower and assassinate
commit murder.
people.
Yeah.
So yeah, I see how it would have its uses, but like the fact that it is anchored in Teleron Riyadh is a little weird to me.
Kind of specific.
Anyway, Moradin also is like, and check out this sweet book of prophecies that are specifically written by bad guys. And Grendel reads it and is like, this says Perrin will die. And it's like, Moradin's like, yes, mwahahaha, and sends Grendel off to do his bidding. And it's like, the prophecy that is being referenced is the ending epigraph in this book. You don't have to read it. It's like it doesn't say Perrin Ibarra will die. It says some shit about the broken wolf and like blah 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 blah. And it's like nothing. None of this is.
I think all of the Forsaken should be forced to take an English class and learn how to do critical reading.
Yeah. Also, like, they're like, yeah, our specific bad guy prophet had this foretelling. And I'm like, you don't think maybe he was motivated to be like, and sure, the bad guys will win.
Did you guys know that media has bias?
Yeah, I know.
So they should also take a media literacy class.
Like, I think we're supposed to be intimidated by this, but it honestly just makes me laugh. I'm what in the fuck?
Yeah, immediately.
That, like, the Forsaken are just sitting around like, here's our special book that says we'll win. And it's like, what
else would your bad guy prophet have said?
Yeah. Oh, Trump lied to you? What a surprise.
Yeah.
Oh, Ron DeSantis has his own motives. Shocking, I know.
Yeah.
Maybe we shouldn't read their books as part of a
political education.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Moradin also tells Grendel that he will lend her the guy with two souls, meaning Slayer, who we have not seen in many moons.
Since book 4?
No, he's propped up. He, like, murdered a couple of bad guy Ashaman in Farmadding back in book.
Oh, that's right.
8, 9?
9, I think.
7 or 9. Yeah, 9. Whichever one the Cleansing of Sidon was in. 9. That, I think, is the last time we've seen him.
Okay. So, 4 books ago?
Yeah, whatever. Then we get to a rare chapter that has a single point of view. The point of view is Morgause as she is serving tea to Perrin in like this sort of war council setting. Except they're not at war anymore. They're just talking about what to do next. So all the major players are here. Morgause's point of view is basically just like her being like, wow, it's harder to serve tea and be a laborer than I thought. Go figure. And it's like, yeah, I don't have a ton of sympathy for you, honey.
No, not. She's like, I never paid any attention to my servants at all. And it's like, well.
And she's like, wow, it's a lot of work to not be paid attention to and to do so good at your job that you never fuck up and so no one ever notices you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. Congrats on learning.
It's actually probably harder to do that than to be a monarch.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, various forms of, like, domestic labor are way harder than I think anything on the planet.
Yeah. Anyway, the group is just deciding, like, who should go where and what should happen. Everyone except for Perrin is like, let's just stay as a big group and go basically to the last battle. Like, we will send out some guys to go to Rand, try and get more travelers here, so that we can all just go to the last battle. And Perrin's like, no, I want Alejandra and the Gjaldanins to, like, go off to do their business, like, split up, and I want the Two Rivers guys to go back to the Two Rivers, and I just want our big conglomerate to separate into a bunch of tiny little armies. And everyone's like, that's stupid. And Perrin's like, well, it's because I have personal problems with being the boss. While he is acting like the boss. Mm-hmm. Like, credit where credit is due, this chapter, like, does very specifically have characters point out that while Perrin is paying a lot of lip service to not wanting to be a leader, he is very specifically, like, ordering people around.
Yeah.
And doing, like, exerting leadership and power in a way that makes it, like, yeah, he is the leader of this. He's not insisting that, like, this is a round table, you know, where everyone has the same amount of power. That's not what he's doing. He is literally burning symbols of power, which is nothing.
Yeah. Like, it's symbolic. Like, burning things can have symbolic power, but that
not
doesn't...
if you don't enforce them in reality.
Oh, yeah, do the banners not get burned?
No, I mean, the banners don't get... The banners... I actually don't remember whether... It's irrelevant.
It is
whether
irrelevant.
The banners get burned. Perrin is still acting like the leader, is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
so
no, absolutely. Like...
Why does it matter if his symbols of leadership are gone?
Yeah.
But yeah, Perrin's just like, I'm not going to be the leader, and you guys have to listen to me because I'm the leader. Mm-hmm. And they're like, this is the stupidest fucking... Vale's like, hey, Perrin, maybe we should talk about this in private. And Morgause is like, wow. Ew.
Yeah.
Yikes. Anyway, all they decide is that they're going to send a small group to Cairhien because that's where the last sighting of Rand was. It's just going to include, like, Balwer... some people, you know, that's it. And they also decide that because Grady and Nialt are still struggling to channel, they'll, like, start trying to do linking with some of the Wise Ones and Aes Sedai who are there in order to, like, give them the power boost they need to travel. Which is a great idea. And then everyone gets sent away, and then Perrin's like, Magden, which is Morgause's code name, he's like, hey, go get Talonvor. Let's get you married.
Well, Talonvor's outside like a creep.
Yeah, like a creep.
So Perrin just, like, signals them both in, and he's like, you know, someone told me this long time ago, meaning Linny. He's like, you guys, we all see how you just moon over each other, so, like, take an hour to go get dressed and you're getting married.
And Morgause is like, no.
Yeah, Morgause is like, absolutely, fuck you, fuck your whole shtick. Morgause, to her credit, is like, has exactly what Emily was saying. Like, you're really making a lot of demands for someone who claims they don't want to be in charge. And then she ends on the sickest burn of all time, where she's like, if you're going to make decisions like this, maybe consult your lady wife first, which I was like, yeah, get him. Fucking roast his ass.
She's like, even if you are in charge, you can't order people to make personal decisions like getting married. Yeah. That's insane and unhinged.
Yeah.
And he's like, what? I didn't mean it. And she's just like, like, for all you know, I don't even like Talonvor. For all like, you don't know, you don't have our consent to do this.
You don't know anything about us.
Of course, this pisses off Talonvor, who, you know, was just salivating to get married. Who was
just like, yeah, let's absolutely get married. And he runs away and pouts, and Morgause is like, yeah, whatever, I'll fix that later, but I'm so fucking mad at you for making the dumbest decision of all time. I also hope Fail reams his ass for this, for being like, you cannot do this.
I don't remember, probably we don't see it, but it's like...
But it's so ridiculous that Perrin would do this. So I'm really happy that Morgause yells at him. I was really worried for a while that she was just going to be like, yeah, whatever, we might as well.
No, yep, she's like, absolutely the fuck not. And I'm like, wow, Morgause could be a really fun character if she wasn't such a dipshit.
Monarch?
Yeah.
Condescending monarch like her son,
if she wasn't just constantly like, oh my god, it's so different being in the working class. My hands are dirty.
Yeah, my point of being like, it was a pretty sick read when she's like, you should talk to your wife first, is the public acknowledgement that Perrin is an idiot and Fail makes all the decisions.
Oh no, yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
She's like, consult the only person in this room who actually I have any respect for.
Yeah.
And Perrin's like, oh.
Perrin's like, man, I'm not at fault. I've never made a mistake in my life.
Stupid.
And Morgause should have punched him.
Yeah,
he should have. Pulled out a pocket knife and gutted him. Like a fish. What a bitch.
And as she's leaving, some people show up and are like, Perrin, we've run into some white cloaks. So the inevitable confrontation is inching closer.
Yeah.
Oh, Perrin also had some dreams earlier, but I don't care to go into them.
Oh, yeah, about Matt fighting himself and...
Yeah, and it's like, okay.
Matt's always fighting himself.
Sure.
Matt's fighting his own character assassination on the daily.
Speaking of Matt, we'll get him in the next few chapters, along with more of our classic men. Lan, Galad, Perrin. I know, it's a real bummer.
Classic men.
Let's check our moods.
Let's check our moods, ladies and gentlemen. It's time to check our mood. Ladies and gentlemen and other folk.
And critters.
And critters, that's right. Ask your cats how they are doing. As a reminder, the moods that we can put on the board are happy, sad, dead inside / resigned, mad, confused, or feeling like quitting the podcast.
Mad.
Same.
I'm mad.
Mad. Fully mad.
Just so mad at so many of the men. They're all so stupid.
They're all dumb. It really is a bunch of chapters full of like stupid masculine nonsense. I'm doing a really bad job filling in these circle guys.
It's beautiful.
You're going to be like, did your 5-year-old nephew do this? And I'd be like, no, I'm 28.
Hey, you're inside the lines. That's impressive. All right, everyone. Thank you for listening to this anger fest, this rage cast. Thanks to Glenna Mackenzie for our theme song. Thanks to our patrons on Patreon and our followers on social media.
Yeah, we love you guys.
So sorry about the constant hammering in the background. If that comes through in audio, I suspect it will, at least vaguely. But if it makes you feel better, we're living with it.
Yeah, also if it makes you feel
7 days a
better,
week.
we're fully recording this podcast at 6 p.m. It's not like we sat down in the middle of the general working hours.
1 p.m.
And they just like will not stop. I think they went to like 8 p.m. last night. Like it's just ungodly.
They must be on some sort of weird deadline.
Yeah. The deadline probably being winter. So
good luck.
Also, as a quick reminder, we have a bookshop.org affiliate page where you can purchase books, and 10% of that purchase will come back to EHR, and then we send those funds out to mutual and direct aid requests, prioritizing queer and trans, Black, and Indigenous people. And that's just a great way to make your book buying habits go a little bit further. So check that out at bookshop.org/shop/everybody-hates-rand.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a sign off?
Yeah. My poor mom has COVID, and is like she's okay, but she's like not doing great, and she's lost her taste and smell. And I'm checking in on her, and today I was talking to her, this is while you were at Target, and I was like, are you doing okay? And she's like, yeah, I'm okay, but like, Sally, I can't taste Diet Coke. She's like, it's the worst. She's like, I don't care about any other food. I just want to taste my Diet Coke. And I was like, yeah.
That's fair enough.
That's relatable.
Yeah, if I lost my taste for Diet Coke, it would be a real
I don't know. I told her to stop drinking it or she's going to associate Diet. Her brain's going to be like, this tastes bad.
It tastes like medicine.
Yeah, I told her to drink some Diet Pepsi or something.
Yeah. If it doesn't taste good anyway, now's the
time,
Just like get some weird ass shit.
Yeah.
Okay, everyone. Thanks for listening.
Goodbye.
Stay safe. Get your vaccines.
Get your vaccines. That's right. They're protecting us.
Wear masks in public.
Please.
Goodbye.